Greetings, I hope you've had a good week so far. The sun is back, which is fantastic after all that rain last week. Today we're going to do another two-part commentary, and it's about something that we get asked a lot, and that is the interview do and don'ts. We'll talk about the interview don'ts first because I love them so much. It's not that I don't like talking about the interview do's, because they're good advice, but it's always fun to talk about what you shouldn't do. And it's actually things that happen to me as well. I mean, we can all learn from this kind of stuff. It's not that any of us is immune to any of these kind of mishaps. Showing up late is always bad. It's not that it doesn't happen, but it's bad. It has happened to me. I'm sure it has happened to you at one point of your life. It's something that just doesn't make a good impression. And the other thing that happens when you show up late, you keep worrying about that. If you have a conscience. Some people, they're completely oblivious to it, right? They don't even apologize. But if you are worried about the first impression that you give by showing up late, then that might affect your performance in the interview after. You might get nervous, you might you might not be on point answering a question. So yeah, do not be late. I'm going for coffee, then it's a different story if we're going for coffee. But with a client where I have to present, unless I'm for some reason completely dehydrated, I'm trying not to drink and not to eat, because it can lead to mishaps, right? You can, I'm always so horrified I might spill a glass of water or something like that, and it has happened. Believe me, not to me, but I've heard it happen to people. And then what happens again? You're completely thrown off your game, and you're nervous. You're self-conscious, and you're sweating or whatever it is. So try to avoid these kind of possible mishaps that could happen if you do certain things. And drinking and eating actually could be one of them. Humor is a difficult one. I would advise not to crack any jokes unless it is completely safe. But humor is so culturally sensitive and also organizationally sensitive. You don't want to say something that might be interpreted as inappropriate by the organization, by the interviewers. So again, you want to be as safe as possible. That doesn't mean that you can't be light and personable, and you don't have to be staunch and serious the whole time. You can still have a very friendly and fun conversation, but cracking jokes is too risky, in my opinion. Stories are really similar to humor because you never know how it's going to be perceived. There are some people who love it, who love stories, and others, they get tired of them. They don't want to hear you bringing up tons of anecdotes and, oh, when I met so-and-so, and then when we had this situation and this event. Try and stick to answering the questions as much as possible. If you can bring into the interview a few anecdotes were appropriate, but keep it concise, keep them concise. Very similar to stories, but more focused on the question side of things. So when you're asked a question, you want to really make sure that you answer the question and that you don't jump on the very first thing that you understand. So try and understand the question and then answer that question, and not get lost in something And then at the end you will realize, oh my gosh, I have never really answered the question. Something that I dislike very much, and I know a number of my colleagues do too, is name dropping. And it's easy in fundraising because we are with donors all the time, and we might think, oh, if I know this particular donor and I let the interviewers know, then they will think, oh, good fundraiser, he has worked with Miss So-and-so. But I would really err on the side of humility and stick to the facts, stick to numbers, stick to revenue generated, largest gift raised, and don't feel like you have to drop names. It also can be perceived as oh, this person is not very confidential, they're throwing names around. So it's not good. In my opinion, it's not a good thing to do. Along the same lines, I also don't like the shop talk. And what I mean by that is talking about what's going on in your particular organization. The worst case scenario is backstabbing and say, oh my gosh, my manager is horrible and my colleagues are horrible, this is horrible. Don't do it. Again, humility wins, because you want to be seen as the person who is above all that. You don't need to talk poorly about your current, well, not need to, you should never talk poorly about your current employer. They're still paying your paycheck. But it never, even if everything is horrible, absolutely horrible at your organization, then it still looks better if you do not mention it. And why would you? What's the point? This is all I can think about today. I'm sure I left some out, and I might sneak them in next time when we chat about the do's in interviews, and that's gonna be in 2 weeks from now. I wish you all the best, enjoy the sun again, and stay healthy.